Hey, boys and girls. Yesterday, I started reading to you January Sparrow by Patricia Polacco. And today we're going to continue with our story to find out what happens to the Crosswhite family. And we're still looking for who is the narrator of this story. So yesterday, this was the last picture that I showed you. And if you remember, the Crosswhite family had just crossed over the Ohio River into Indiana. Indiana is a free state. Ohio is a free state. And the Ohio River is back in history, the Ohio River was a place where a lot of slaves crossed over to escape from their masters because they didn't want to be slaves anymore. Who wants to be a slave and treated poorly, right? So we found this out yesterday. So let's look at the next page and see what happens. All right, here we go. The Crosswhites tumbled onto the shore. "Watch for a lantern up on that ridge. They'll take you where you can be safe," the Rowan girl whispered. Then, without another word, she oared the boat into the river. The Crosswhites just stood there in the blackness of the night. They all pondered on that girl. She had risked her life for them, and probably many others. Yet they didn't even know her name. They listened to the sloughing of her oars till they was no more sound of 'em. Adam drew in a deep long breath and sighed. "This here is free air," he cried out as he fell to his knees in the slack mud. They knelt there with him, huddled together, all of 'em taking gulps of that free air. "You need to haul up this bank," a man's voice called out to him. They all looked up. There was a man holding a lantern. Quick as flint, they scrambled up that bluff. "Sand my heels next to the fields. Hurry! Now, we don't got a lot of time before first light. Sometimes slave catchers are fast on the trail of runners. They come right across this here river," he said breathlessly as he scurried along. Suddenly, there were dogs baying way off in the distance. "Oh, Daddy, it's Lee and Ford and Mr. Troutman. They're after us," John cried between clenched teeth. They all looked back and quickened their steps. The man covered his lantern and pulled them into a cornfield along a row of stalks. At the end there was a lane. They made their way down the lane and could see in the first dawn light the outline of a tall barn. He led them into the barn and helped them climb up into the loft. Sadie started fever dreaming as soon as she fell asleep and called out for her mama many times. She had terrible nightmares about being caught, watching Lee and Ford beat her brothers and her mama and her daddy. Ooh, kind of vicious. They slept all that day, only to set out again as soon as it was dark, traveling only at night so as not to be seen. And so it was, night after night. Adam watched the North Star and followed it next to the safe farm or house on what everybody called the Underground Railroad. Some places were marked with a piece of calico tied to a bush by the front door, while others had pots standing on the front fence posts. If the pot was standing upright, it was safe to come to the barn. If the pot was turned over, it wasn't safe. It seemed to Sadie that she and her family had been on the run for days and days. They had all blisters. They all had blisters sloughing off their heel caps and toe tops. Sadie's nightmares seemed to be getting worse and worse, but they had to press on, bound for Canada, where they would be safe. One night, they heard dogs off in the distance again. They all packed up and they ran till they could taste blood in the back of their throats. Near daybreak, they sloshed through a creek after their daddy. "The dogs can't catch our scent through the water," he said breathlessly as he ran behind all of them. "If them dogs get our scent, then we's done for," Silas murmured under his breath. You might ask yourself, why do they want to get to Canada because once they get into Ohio, the states are free, right? Or into Indiana, it's free states. Well, you're going to learn here a little bit later in this book that even though they might have been in a free state, their owners could still come and get them and take them back. And it was called the Fugitive Slave Act. But in Canada, if they were to get to Canada, they would be safe because the laws in Canada didn't apply. The United States laws did not apply in Canada. So once they were in Canada, the masters couldn't get them. All right, let's keep reading here. There were many nights like this, but the crosswhites kept tracking through cornfields, climbing up bluffs, rolling through muck and mud, always in the cover of night. Pretty soon, one barn looked just like the next. John took to Carrie and Sadie pretty regular, but ever northward they walked, holding for Canada. The one morning, Sadie was shaken awake by an old dark woman. Sadie sat up. She was sleeping in a bed with cool, refreshing smelling linens on a soft mattress. She didn't even remember getting into this bed. "Oh, baby dear, look at this precious child." She touched Sadie's cheek. "We're going to rub lard on your ashy skin and take a crokinole iron to your hair. We'll fix you up like a shiny new penny." "Where's my mama?" Sadie asked, pulling her sheets up to her chin. "Oh, she's right here. Your whole family is. They downstairs at the table eating a fine breakfast." The old woman beckoned Sadie to follow her downstairs. When Sadie got to the kitchen, everybody was at the table. It was groaning with good food. They was hot cakes, molasses, eggs, bacon, grits, fresh milk. It was the first time the Crosswhites had sat at a table in so long. Sadie eased into a chair. Then she looked out the window. "Mama, it's daytime!" She jumped out of her chair, dove under the table, and rocked, her arms around her knees. "The patty rollers will get us! The patty rollers will get us!" she chanted. Her mama pulled Sadie up and into her lap. I want you to think a second about what do you think a patty roller is? She said they're going to get them. So think about that for a second. What do you think a patty roller is? The old lady rubbed Sadie's back. "Child, you in Michigan, a free state. There ain't no patty rollers here. You're in Marshall. This town is part of the underground. We help runaways here. That's what we do. You can call me Aunt Della. Everybody does," she sang out as she eased Sadie back into her chair. "And this here is Miss Nancy Reed, my neighbor." Miss Nancy turned from the stove and spooned up eggs and grits for Sadie. "Are we really safe here?" Sadie asked between bites. "Safe as newborn lambs," Miss Reed exclaimed as she poured coffee for Adam and Sarah. "Why, I heard of Marshall, Michigan," Adam said. It seems he heard from an old friend, Moses Patterson. They'd met on one of Adam's trips to sell tobacco for Master Giltner. Moses used to live in Marshall. Adam was sure of it. Why, Moses told Adam that near 2,000 people live in this town, and that 60 of them were Negroes. Moses said they all colored folk knew each other, and when a stranger come through, they was watched to see if they were spies from the South looking for runaways. Even most white folks here in Marshall don't cotton to keeping slaves. They dead set against it, Nancy Reed went on to say. Now, that doesn't mean you can trust all the white folks here, Aunt Della warned. But we'll show you the ones you can. "Oh, Daddy, Mama, can we stay here for a while? I'm so tired of running," Sadie pleaded. "Canada's the only safe place that will be safe. It's still against the law of the land to help runaway slaves," Adam whispered. "Please, Daddy, I don't think I can take another step," Cyrus pleaded. "Not another step," Ben and John chimed in. Just as Adam and Sarah were pondering, there was a knock on the door. and in strode the tallest man that Sadie had ever seen. He was wearing a stovepipe hat that made him look even taller and was as skinny as a yard pole holding up a line of washing. What do you think it is? Well, I'll be switched. Adam Crosswhite threw his arms around the man. Moses Patterson himself. I didn't believe my eyes. And I don't believe mine, Adam Crosswhite. Mr. Patterson just kept shaking his head. They told me a new family was here, but I can't believe what I'm seeing. Sarah, this is the very man I've been talking about, Adam beamed. Around here, Adam, I'm called Auction Bell, Mr. Patterson announced, patting his hat. Yes, sir, I go through town and I ring this here bell to announce when they auction off for wandoos. What's a wandoo? John asked. Do you wandoo this or do you wandoo that? I tell folks about jobs that are needed in town, he laughed. There, see, you already got a friend here. I think you folks should stay for a while till you get your bearings, Aunt Della coaxed. Adam, there's other Negro folks here that are runaways. They've been here for a year or two, and no harm has come to them, Auction Bell added. They's white folks here we trust that will give you work. The children can even go to school and get some book learning, Nancy Reed said with a wink. Oh, please, Daddy, the children pleaded. But if and you do stay here, you can never tell white folks that you're runaways, Nancy Reed warned. Not even a hint. As far as folks will know, you're my cousin from Illinois. You're here to help me out. That's what you say. Aunt Della wagged her finger in each of their faces. Finally, Adam and Sarah agreed to stay. But only for a little while, you hear, just to rest up. The first sign of trouble, we's heading for Canada, Adam warned. Sadie watched Auction Bell climb up on a small Indian pony. His legs were so long and the pony so short, the bottoms of his feet almost touched the ground. Sadie laughed out loud. It was the first time she had laughed since she left the plantation. Mr. Patterson took to ringing that bell, and he trotted on down the street. I'll show you a picture of that, and then I'll keep reading. So here's Auction Bell, and he's on that little tiny horse with his long legs. It's pretty funny. The Crosswhites stayed right there with Aunt Della. Sarah helped her take in the wash and clean houses. Adam went to work at Charles Gorham's mercantile store. He was a trusted friend of Aunt Della, part of the underground, and he helped runaway slaves regular. John got a job at Ketchum's mill. Mr. Ingersoll, a young lawyer, got the job for him. I lost my place. He was a trusted friend, and he helped him. John got a job at Ketchum's mill. Mr. Ingersoll, a young lawyer, got a job for them. Ben, Cyrus, and Sadie, for the first time in their lives, were enrolled in school. So, it was at school that Sadie learned how far Marshall was from Kentucky. Fact is, it was the first time she'd seen a map of the whole country. See, this here is Michigan, a girl with golden mops of hair whispered to Sadie as she pointed at the map. It's the only state in the Union that's shaped like a mitten. What's a mitten? Sadie asked. It's a knit glove to keep your hands warm in the snow, silly, the girl answered. I've never seen snow, Sadie whispered. Oh, we get snow that's so deep it reaches all the way up to our second floor windows. Where are you from, anyway? The girl asked. She looked puzzled. Sadie remembered what Aunt Della told her to say. We're from Illinois, she answered. But you get as much snow as we do, she exclaimed. My name is Sadie Crosswhite, she blurted out, trying to change the subject. My name's Polly Hobart. My daddy is the judge here in Marshall. She grabbed Sadie's hand and took to shaking it. After that day, they walked home together. I have 3 brothers, Sadie told Polly. I have 2 of them, and ain't they smelly, though? They both laughed. From that day on, you almost never saw Polly without Sadie or Sadie without Polly. One day, when Sadie was visiting Polly, they was playing dolls up in Polly's room. Suddenly, as she was holding one of the dolls, tears rolled down Sadie's cheeks. "Sadie, what's wrong?" Polly whispered. "The only toy I ever had, but that was as beautiful as this, was a whittled sparrow that January made for me, and I don't have it anymore." "What happened to it?" Polly asked. "Got left in my room in Illinois." "Who's January?" Polly asked. He was my eldest brother, 'ceptin' he wasn't really. He lived with us, and I loved him like one," Sadie said softly. "Well, what happened to him?" Polly asked. Sadie finally murmured. "He died. At least that's what I think. Daddy dug his grave himself." Polly hugged Sadie. "I just wish I still had that sparrow," Sadie sputtered. Both them little girls sat on the edge of Polly's bed for the longest time. Look, Sadie, it's snowing!" Polly sang suddenly out. Both girls ran to the window light and touched the lacy flakes. The lacy flakes float down from the sky. Sadie, for the first time, saw snow. Because she was from the South, she never saw snow. That winter, Sadie got to see for herself how deep snow got in Marshall. Polly taught Sadie and her brothers how to make snowmen and snow angels. Polly took the Crosswhite kids sledding down deep hills at the Ingersoll's holler by the mill. Adam Crosswhite was doing very well at Mr. Gorham's store, so well that he was soon keeping records and even had people working under him. John was earning real good at the mill. Mr. Ingersoll even let him read one of his law books. He had commenced to spark Aunt Della's niece, and there was talk that they might marry up. Ben, Sadie, and Cyrus took to book learning so good that all three of them were on the honor roll. Life was good for the Crosswhites there in Marshall. Sadie wouldn't have her nightmares as often, as the whole family belonged to a church. Adam and Sarah, along with the Ingersolls and Gorhams, were part of the underground, helping other folks coming through Marshall on their way to Canada. But not a day went by when any of them let down their guard. So it sounds like their life there in Marshall, Michigan was pretty good. But they still had to be so careful and cautious. All right, so I'll give you a glimpse of tomorrow. Or not tomorrow. I guess it'll be Monday because I won't read to you again until Monday. It looks like we have a new addition to the family. So we'll read about that on Monday. Okay? All right, guys. So I hope you have a great day. And I look forward to seeing all of you on Friday, which is tomorrow, at our Zoom meeting. Hopefully everybody can make it. All right? All right. Love you guys. See ya.